Good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to the Sleep Show. Alongside Dr. Bethaney Brenner, I'm Gary Byron. You can find her online very easily. Head on over to theburlingtondentist.com. This is not to confuse you. We haven't talked about her work in dentistry in a number of weeks, but she is a dentist. But she's also, as far as I'm concerned, I think she's a sleep specialist. My goodness, I'm here every Saturday morning with the things I'm learning. Is incredible. If you want to zip her over a comment, a concern, a question even, you can email her at drbrennerradio@gmail.com. Doctor, just put DR, and Brenner is Brenner, and then radio@gmail.com. I say, more importantly, this is maybe just me. I'm much more for the immediacy of an answer, because I have a tendency to ask follow-up questions. Hey, that's what I do for a living, folks. I ask questions. It's in my nature. 860-673-7155. Again, one more time, 860-673-7155. And if you missed it right there, if I was talking too fast or you just didn't have a pen or a piece of paper in your immediate reach, no worries. I'm going to repeat those points of contact at least 2 more times before the show is over. Well, good morning, and it's great to see you. How was your Christmas, by the way?
Well, I don't have children living with me anymore, so it's always on the quiet side. Okay. But it's always a fun time.
Good.
Because I get
Did
on
you
the phone.
See friends or other family members?
Everybody gets on the phone, so we all talk. Yeah, we open presents together. But it's sometimes it's FaceTime, sometimes.
But you weren't physically alone, were you?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Just looking out for you.
Oh, well,
I don't want to see anybody alone.
Thank you. No,
Christmas
usually
Eve
I have
Christmas.
friends over for a Christmas, dinner or something like that.
We got New Year's coming up, huh?
We do.
So one holiday after another. Did you? Are you typically? And this could really apply for your dental practice as well. That last week, that slow week between Christmas and New Year's, is it relatively the same way in your office?
We're usually busier.
Busier?
Well, the kids all come home from college. They need cleanings and fillings fixed before they go back to school. I have people that have time off, so they want to schedule their dental work when they have a day off.
That's what I was asking, because a lot of people do take that week off.
Right. So we're typically pretty busy.
And then insurance companies, right, that starts a new year, so...
Oh, no, they start the new year in the new year.
Right, in the new year.
Yeah.
So if you've got...
if you have benefits left over, you want to try to use them.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All the more reason to.
Yeah, exactly.
It occurred to me during the week, and I saved it till today. I'm just glad I remembered it. How many people, maybe I guess percentage-wise, and you can give me a rough number. How many people approximately have a sleep disorder, have sleep apnea? Let me just start there. Don't give me an accurate. You don't have to give me an accurate number, but approximately. There's a lot of people who may have it walking around, don't even know they have it because they haven't been diagnosed, right?
That's correct. That's the big problem. And they think they're fine. They think they breathe fine. They think they sleep fine. Because if they snore a little bit or they don't snore loudly, people think they're okay.
Well, particularly those who live alone and don't have.
Well, they don't have a clue, right? There's nobody to tell them that they're snoring, right?
Exactly.
So I get men who their wives have passed away or they're divorced and they live alone and they have no idea. They just say, "I sleep fine." So you
don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And when you know it, now you're educated.
Well, then you can start doing something about it.
But not everybody does something about it.
No, this is true, too.
Then that's the hard part. And they go, "I'm fine." And some think their medical insurance won't pay for it. And a lot of times we can get their medical insurance to pay for it.
How?
Well,
so
we help facilitate the sleep test. The physicians will order it. And then we give them the test because it's a home sleep test, so it's easy to do. And then if they are really bad on that or we see some really funky stuff, then they're going to have to go into a hospital clinic to do a different kind of sleep test. So we have home sleep tests and we have the ones in the clinics where you're like videotaped and they do the EEG and they do the EKG and they basically, you look like you're wired up. I don't know how anybody can sleep with that, but the technicians try to help them out. But typically, not a lot of people want to do that. So they'll do the home one. And I think the home ones give us a real good baseline. How bad are you? Are you only mildly sleep apneic? If you're really severe. Some of them kind of have an inkling, okay, because they don't feel good all the time. They feel tired all the time. But then, as I've learned more recently, there are some medical conditions that make you tired, and it's not sleep apnea. So,
What would it be?
cancer.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So those are always like, you know, you need to ask a lot of questions. So those are things that sometimes slip through the cracks because people are like, well, I'm just tired. I'll just try to, I didn't sleep really well last night. So
How do you treat third shifters? Not whether they listen, they could be doctors as well.
So they are in a conundrum because, in my opinion, and this is, I'm sure there are some people that will agree, but in my strict opinion, third shifters, that's the worst time for you to try to sleep because it's not natural to our biological rhythm.
Yeah, but we need police and first responders
Yes, we
and
do.
doctors
And
that are
they
on all night.
And they all struggle with being overweight, overstressed. They usually have family issues because they're not around enough, and they try to get on a daytime shift as soon as they have enough seniority to do that. Now, I had an uncle that worked third shift, and he was a foreman in a factory in Ohio. He had a great job. He loved his job, but he would come home, go play golf, then sleep. Then he'd be up at like 8, 9 o'clock. He'd have what we called dinner, and which was his breakfast. And my aunt would give him his lunch pail, and he'd go off and go to the night shift. So he worked from 11 to 7.
Wow.
And he did that for years and years and years. And he eventually gained weight. He eventually had a heart attack. Then he had open heart surgery. Then he had another heart attack. So I'm just saying, sleep deprivation comes in many forms. And you don't always know until it's, and I've used this analogy before, I'm sure. It's like you can cook the lobsters on a boiling pot of water quickly, or you can put them on low and it just takes longer to kill them. Okay?
Do it
Either
quick.
way, sleep apnea is like that. It just kind of takes you slowly downhill, and you know things don't crop up as quickly. I'm sorry. I don't
No,
want to be
you
too
answered
depressing.
you answered my question. But let's talk CPAP. Let's piggyback up. Piggyback on this. Do they really work?
They work well. They consider them the gold standard. Okay, so I will say they work for some people really, really well. All right, the ones they don't work for are the ones who can't breathe through their nose very well. And like we discussed last weekend, nose breathing becomes critical. All right, so if their nose swells up right about the time that the CPAP is now blowing harder to get their airway open, it's bouncing off their face, flopping on the mask, or it starts coming out their mouth, and it wakes people up. Now, which is worse? Being woke up so you're disturbing the sleep that you're trying to get, or being able to breathe. So there's got to be a happy compromise in this. And so for some individuals, and I just had a gentleman in he's not in too bad a shape. He could eat a little better. So he's like, my Aura Ring tells me I'm doing really well, and my CPAP machine, which is a ResMed, says I'm not doing too badly. I have like maybe one episode a night. I said, okay, so let's we'll talk to the physician, right? We'll see if we can facilitate a sleep study because we already know you have sleep apnea. Otherwise, you wouldn't be wearing a CPAP, right? Let's see where you are. Because what I find is the physicians don't order a sleep study often enough. So once you get a CPAP machine, it's like you can have it for 30 years and they don't ever check you again. If you complain and say, I need an appointment, then you have to make the appointment. The physicians don't suggest this. Now, there might be some exceptions out there. I hope there are. But the typical ones that I see, they're not asking them to come back and check on them. They see the technician if there's a problem with the machine. But the machines, I find, are often quite inaccurate. So we'll put on the ring device that they can wear, and they can wear their CPAP machine. Nothing's interfering with anything. Mm-hmm. And I find out that they have mild sleep apnea. One fellow had severe sleep apnea, even while he was wearing his CPAP machine. So I sit there and I go, okay, you got it on. Is it really doing what it's supposed to do? Now, maybe it's taking him from a very high number down lower, but he still has severe sleep apnea. So that to me is like we need to have some other checks because medication interferes, nasal breathing interferes, body weight interferes. So there's a lot of things that go with sleep apnea, and this is why I educate people to, like, if you really want to get off these machines, you need to change what you're doing.
But there's different type of machines.
Not too many. They're all about the same. They're just a different manufacturer.
Different manufacturers, but they function the same, but they
have a different
sizes.
The mask.
Okay,
so you have full face masks, you have nasal masks, you have nasal pillows.
And is there a reason behind one would choose one and not another, or is it just universal?
Well, the technicians are supposed to test you to make sure it's working right. People will come back and go, oh, it was flopping on my face. It doesn't fit. It's leaking air around it. Okay, so then the machine blows harder. It doesn't ask you how you're doing. So people try to communicate, but the communication between the technician and the patient are often lacking. They're frustrated. They can't get a hold of them. They're not getting a return phone call. So I see a lot of very frustrated patients that are wearing them. Now, for some people, it is the best thing since sliced bread. So I have one woman who had a lot of face pain. She had sleep apnea. She's wearing her nasal pillows. She's good about wearing her CPAP. We got her to change her diet, and I had to make her an appliance because when I put an appliance in their mouth, I'm supporting the airway, and we got her to change what she was eating so the tissue doesn't swell up as much during the night. She did great. Okay?
Nice.
So you get those successes because a combination of an appliance and a CPAP can be really wonderful. But once again, you got to know what you're dealing with and how do we get you there. There's even an appliance, and it's named after one of my friends, where the silicone nose pads go inside the nose. It's attached to the CPAP machine, and there's an appliance that's in the mouth at the same time.
Oh.
It's a very, very interesting device. It's not super easy to wear. They're a little more complicated, but when you have somebody who's very severe, very sick, on, like, I hate to say it, like 50 medications, those are probably the easiest for them to try to get some oxygen. Those, we have to prop the airway open and then really blow on those machines.
So I would assume a lot of people just kind of take these things off, or they find that they can't get used to it, right?
Well, what I hear from people who wear them, and I'm going to say the 40, 50-year-olds, they hate them. They wear them and they hate them.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They're
too.
like, I put it on and then I can't wait to rip it off, and I have to get the 4 hours in because otherwise my insurance won't cover it, and they get mad at you because the testing machine is like, showing you that you're not wearing it enough. And I have people that fall asleep on the recliner and they sleep for a few hours there, then they go to bed, put the machine on, and as soon as 4 hours is up, it's like, okay, I'm out of bed. So it's a real conundrum for some individuals. And so some, I'm just going to point out, so if you have a pretty heavy beard, it's hard to get a seal around the face with a face mask, okay? If we have somebody that's overweight and the shape of their face is odd, like long and narrow or maybe very wide, they struggle with the masks. So some people feel the masks are better because the other ones have been blowing in their nose and out their mouth. And they're like, it wakes me right up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they say. And I'm sure if you've had friends who have been wearing them, they say the same thing. So it's all about trying to get something that works, right? And so what I find is the technicians don't want to take the time to figure it out. They try, but then they're like, this is the best you can do. And here it is. They give it to you. So then they come to me. I hate this thing. What can you do for me?
Right. Yeah.
And so I have to see what the sleep study looks like. So they usually will bring that. We say, bring that with you. And then I can see what their respiratory distress is, because I can see that, okay, that's probably where the beginning issue is. We have to change their diet, because a lot of the physicians will say lose weight, but they don't say how to. And
carbs. Cut out your carbs.
Well, yeah, it's easier to say than do. right?
Well, this time of year it is, but after the
totally.
holidays are over.
Totally. And I'm making gluten-free, sugar-free cookies, Christmas cookies. My friends are looking at me going, okay. So it's and they think I'm weird. But then the ladies are saying, well, how did you do that, right? So if we can reduce the carbs down a little bit more, it's a safer Christmas cookie to eat. And so we try to have those fun things. And you want to enjoy the holidays. You don't want to completely cut everything out. Like I take all of my staff and their spouses out to dinner. And it's,
wow, that's nice of you.
oh,
Look at
we
you.
have a great time. I have a great group of ladies, and their spouses are just as much fun. So we've been doing this for years, and I hired a new dental assistant more recently, and her husband he fits right in. He had a great time. So it's fun, and they all look at what I eat, and I look at what they eat, and they have 3 or 4 drinks, and I'm not drinking because I know it's going to screw up my sleep.
You could have one.
I could have, but I chose to have a seltzer and some lime in it, and I'm still enjoying myself. And I'm the one that's eating the meat, the beef, and I was really, really good about stuff, and I'm watching them have a lot of carbs. And so it's a choice, right? I've chosen to make sure that my insulin resistance is down, that my blood glucose is staying low. I don't want to gain the weight. And I know a few things about what all this does, and I know how it makes people sick. So we kind of want to, it's hard for me to not walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk. So I can't do something completely differently and say, oh, you should be doing this, and I'm not doing it. So I follow.
You are setting the example.
I try to. And you know what? I have
Sounds
I have a lot of experience with it, so I can tell them what it's going to be like when they do that.
Folks, you are listening to The Sleep Show along with Dr. Bethaney Brenner. I am Gary Byron. You can find out more information on the website, theburlingtondentist.com. And you can call this number. Meet with Dr. Brenner, 860-673-7155. No worries if you didn't get it. I'll still repeat it one more time or towards the end of the show. All right, so let's go back to the CPAP. How do you, if it were up to you, if you were consulted, how do you improve it?
Well, first of all, you got to find out where they are. Where are they right now? Like, what does your machine say? Like this fellow who was wearing his Oura Ring. And I think the Oura Rings are decent. They're not foolproof. And so he was getting pretty good results on the Oura Ring. And I said, okay. So when he got tested again, we found out that he has no deep sleep. And he has not much REM. So he's getting sleep. He's sleeping for 7-8 hours, which is good, right? His fragmentation was really up there, and his RDI, his respiratory distress, was up there. So he's wearing his CPAP, and he's tired all the time. Well, there you go. We're not getting any restful, restorative sleep. So we got to figure that out. I got to work with him. I personally, when I look at the RDI, which is that respiratory distress index, I'm thinking, okay, what are we eating? And, we can go through periods. Holidays, I kind of make exceptions. Thanksgiving to New Year's is like too many holidays and parties, and you want to go and have a good time. That isn't the time to then say, okay, let's start a new diet. Okay, that is just not it. The time to do is after the first of the year.
That's what I was saying earlier,
So then when we start after the first of the year, we get serious and we want to then really do a good job. Now, I have a lady that she and her husband went over to Italy in October. And she's like, I'll definitely really get my walks in. She thinks it's all about exercise. It's not. It's really about controlling the carbs. But in Italy, they don't have the same kind of grains and flours that we have here. They have healthier versions. So theirs is really more gluten-free. It doesn't have the same effect because we like double the gluten in the United States for some reason. And they don't do that over there. And they don't put all the other chemicals in their bread. So people go and they basically are buying fresh bread all the time. The restaurants do their own thing as well. So she actually lost 6 pounds when she went to Italy. Okay? And they were
not many people lose weight when they go to Italy.
Or on vacation.
Good point.
Right?
But Italy, I mean, the pasta is full of, carbs.
They make a different pasta.
It is a different pasta. I do know that. Yeah.
It is a different pasta.
I'm half Italian myself.
It is a different bread, okay? So the stuff they have over there is healthier for you. And I have people who are celiac patients. They try to live in Italy for as long as their visa will allow them because they get healthier when they're over there.
They use a lot of olive oil.
It isn't just that. First of all, you want good omega-3s, which you can get from olive oil and certain fishes like salmon and cod. You want to be on a different kind of a diet. And even though they have the sweets and the sauces, they're not the same as what we have in this country. So we need to be looking at what Italy is doing. And the Mediterranean diet is really kind of a French and Italian kind of combination. How they cook their tomatoes is completely different. And there's things that will affect certain individuals. They could have certain food allergies as well. What I tend to find is the food allergies go away when you heal the gut. And I know that's going to sound crazy because leaky gut leads to food allergies.
You had mentioned one time to lose weight, it's more about the kitchen than the gym.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you just expound on that
So
just a
for
moment?
our over 50 ladies in menopause, if you're fully into menopause, you need to drop your carbs to 20 or less a day. And there are carb tracker apps you can get for your phone.
So you don't have to go to zero.
No, you don't have to go to zero. And in fact, save your carbs for the dessert if you want dessert, or save the carbs for the wine, or save the carbs for the holiday party. So the reason I say that is so then you can have the carbs guilt-free, okay? If the ladies can keep it down to 20 or under, and it's truly not fair because all of our menopausal ladies tend to gain weight, and they can't figure out what they're doing wrong because they're eating like birds and they're gaining weight.
Right.
And it's the wrong kind, okay? So this is where I talk about ways to cook, what foods to eat, how can you arrange that, and it works. They just don't want to do it. Or some do, and they do well, right? Most of the patients, when I sit there and I say, if you want a compromised effect, because I can make an appliance, you'll get somewhat there. If you really want to get the benefit of what I know while I work with you, then follow along with what I'm telling you to do, because you'll see the results. Because I work with them for 12 to 16 weeks. It doesn't just give you an appliance and say, see ya. Okay, which is what the physicians do with the CPAP. They go, here's your CPAP, bye. Okay, call me when you need me. Men, they can get 50 carbs or less. So they because they have more muscle mass, they will burn it. Now, eating protein burns more calories than eating carbs. It's kind of funny how that works.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep, protein is really, really good. So the guys who like their steak and potatoes, okay, make sure you cook the potato a couple days ahead, refrigerate it, and now it's a reheated potato starch. It changes the glycemic index. Interesting, right?
Who knew?
Just saying. If you want to have your potatoes, you can have them. Or you can do some potato substitutes. And so everybody kind of goes, well, they're like, okay? Like cauliflower mashed potatoes is not exactly what people had in mind, right? So there are just ways of changing up what you're doing. And you have to start to understand, where's that flexibility in there? Maybe you choose mushrooms and onions to go with your steak, which I particularly love. And I love garlic, so I do a lot of that.
I'm right with you.
No, gosh, I know. I love, and fresh garlic is the best. And then I make my own baked garlic. I like to cook roasted garlic. I love roasted garlic. And then I make my own hummus. That's just like wonderful. So so if I'm going to pick a carb and I'm going to do some hummus, I don't do much and I do it with vegetables. There's no crackers, cookies, unless I make them. I just don't eat the store-bought stuff. And I can't find
It's all processed.
Well, yeah, processed with the wrong stuff. And then they put some chemicals that you can't even read the name of.
I just have one last question before we wrap things up. I want to go back to the CPAP. How often should this be tested if one is wearing one? How often does it?
So my personal opinion, I can get that out. If you're perfectly healthy and everything's going fine, I say every 5 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, if things are not going fine, you get new medications, you have another issue, you've gained some weight, lost a significant amount of weight, you should be tested almost immediately. So if you've all of a sudden, like you've developed rheumatoid arthritis and you have to take a bunch of meds, we should retest you, okay? And because, once again, some of the diseases that we can, or conditions that we can get, are definitely related to food, they're related to gut health, and this is where I start talking, because I'm certified in nutritional things, and integrative nutrition is what they call it. So I advise on that, and I advise on supplements that they can use that help heal the gut. So, yeah.
Incredible.
I find it fascinating. To me,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, there's science and there's some interest in how can we do this and how can we make it better. And if we stopped putting the chemicals into our diet soda, we would have people gain less weight because that actually is a neurotoxin.
So many people. I don't even drink soda, diet or otherwise. But
Yeah, I don't either.
But I know that people diet Coke for some reason. People have an addiction to it.
Right.
Oh,
Right. Well, once again.
that's saccharin too, isn't it? That's not even sugar.
No, it's equal.
Oh, it's equal.
It's aspartame, which is
aspartame,
probably one of the worst neurotoxins that are out there. People actually, if you drink 2 or 3 of those, you'll forget your name. You won't know where you're going in your car.
2 or 3. Here, people drink a 6-pack a day.
I understand, but if they drink them in close proximity to each other over a short period of time, these people, and the police know this because when they pull you over and it's like you're driving erratically and they're like, I don't know where I'm going and I can't remember who I am anymore because I ask them questions. And then they have to help them get home because this wears off, luckily. But people don't even know that.
I've been drinking too much Diet Coke.
Yeah, it's not quite like that. But yeah, I mean, it's scary, right? So I've known, I lectured in certain companies. I would go in, they had a health program, so I would go in and lecture them while they were eating lunch and started talking about neurotoxins back in the 90s. I'm like, we shouldn't be having any of this stuff. Sad, isn't it?
It is.
And then you've got the ones at the grocery store called, I don't know if I'm going to remember them correctly, but they're a spin on stevia, and they've been chemically altered.
But stevia, I heard, is...
Regular stevia,
Yeah.
unaltered, okay, is
Yep.
different than the chemical that they sell in the grocery store.
Good to know. Folks, if you would like more information on this or any of the other topics that we discuss on this show, head on over to the Burlington Dentist, theburlingtondentist.com. If you got a comment, a concern, a question that you would like to zip on over to Dr. Brenner, email her at Dr. BrennerRadio@gmail.com. DrBrennerRadio@gmail.com. It's BRENNER, by the way. And more importantly, my favorite method of communication, pick up the telephone, is 860-673-7155. 860-673-7155 and make that no obligation consultation. For Dr. Bethaney Brenner, I'm Gary Byron. Thank you so much for listening to The Sleep Show. Until next weekend, have a good one, everybody.